Redditors who are married to Karens. How is it like? Not married to one, but my mom is absolutely one. I spend most of my time with her in public apologizing to people after she's walked away. The one and only time it comes in handy is when I've bought cars and had her come in during the price negotiation phase. She's knocked off thousands purely due to how unpleasant she is and how much people want her to just get the heck out of the door. Weaponize a Karen. Nice. Married to one. She doesn't get why people think Karens complain so much. It's annoying for her and she'd like to talk to someone about this. My so's name is Karen and it kind of ruins these memes because she's very mild-mannered and nothing like them. Divorced and abusive Karen who was convicted of domestic violence. That's a misdemeanor, folks. So she got half of everything. Totally worth it. My life before was a nightmare. Escape was priceless. Note, if you are in a similar situation, especially now what with coronavirus quarantines, and need someone to talk to, PM me. Also, it's okay to reach out to any DV shelter. If you're unable to do that, due to an abusive partner at home, it's okay to seek help elsewhere, except hitmen. Avoid them. Was married to a male Karen. Everything, and I mean everything, could set him off. We were at a local taproom and his iPhone automatically connected to the Wi-Fi. Keep in mind, he had full bars on our cell service. The Wi-Fi was being wonky and wasn't working. The manager, super nice guy, comes over and asks how we are doing, while he washes some glasses in the dish pit on the other side of the bar. The following conversation ensues. Keep in mind, my husband is super irritated at this made up problem because our cell service is working just fine and he can literally just turn off the Wi-Fi. Husband, your Wi-Fi is freaking trash. Manager, I'm sorry, we recently upgraded our internet, and Cox is sending us a new modem. It's supposed to be here this week. Husband, if you say you have Wi-Fi, you should make sure it actually works. Manager, I know. I'm sorry. I'd be happy to restart the modem to see if that helps. Husband then ignores him and continues to talk under his breath about a made-up issue. This was my life for almost 5 years. The sense of entitlement was frustrating enough in public, but more so at home. I had apologized to more servers, retail workers, neighbors, and random people in public for him in 5 years than the rest of my life outside of him. You know what? Now that I'm talking about it, maybe he's not so much a male Karen. He's more like a piece of crap. My life has been a living heck. The number of times I have had to intervene to save the life of a customer service rep over nickels is insane. I've asked for divorce now just a couple weeks ago. Guess how that went over? Stay strong. Lawyer up. Bury gold in a place only you know where it is. Prepare for war, but good on you. Not married to one, but my aunt is. My uncle is this soft-spoken giant. He never stands up to her in any way, except once, at their daughter's wedding. She was about to interrupt the ceremony to close a window because she was chilly. Everyone sitting close could hear her whisper, I am going to do it, but I don't want to be in butthole. My uncle, in a calm quiet tone, says quickly, why stop now, almost as if his filter just missed this one. I swear I could hear my dad snort 2 rows back trying to hold in laughter. Karen was not happy. Haha, that's great. My mom's a Karen. She is self-aware she is a Karen. My siblings and I send her memes about it. When my stepdad divorced her last summer, we were all amazed he lasted 17 years, to be honest. None of us like going out with her, it's terrible, and my husband just straight up tells her no, you aren't talking to the manager when we go in a place. I'll tell you guys a story my step told us. They are farmers and own a small beef and bee farm. They have a store they go to for bee supplies. The owner called my stepdad and asked him to please be the one to pick up their stuff because his staff was tired of dealing with my mom. He is the only one who went to the store for the next 5 years. Co-worker of mine is married to a Karen. He tells us stories multiple days a week how she drives to 4 different grocery stores and harasses the employees because their stock is low on the specific item she wants. My ex-wife is a Karen, in every sense but name. It was always so embarrassing. She was incapable of treating anyone like a human for the most trivial of occurrences. It was heck for me, as a person that's pretty forgiving and don't seek out confrontation. So in a one-word description, it was heck. Lol. PS she's very codependent and jumps from relationship to relationship these days. Not surprised. My mom is a Karen. She thinks the world is supposed to cater to her, serve her, and everyone else is wrong. Once we went to Carl's Jr. She ordered 4 burgers. For the 4 of us. She pulls one out of the bag while the guy is getting our drinks and hides it. She complained that he forgot a burger. She pulls them out one by one and counts it in front of him. It's obviously missing because she hid it, and he's swearing up and down he put them all in the bag. I'm stunned speechless, and it happened so fast. She got a free burger and laughed as we drive off. I am just staring at her and she opens it up to eat it on the drive home. And she ate her actual burger like the 5th one never existed. I can't even explain how she is when she's in the hospital. She treats it like a luxury stay in a hotel. My condolences. Not married to one, but mom was a major Karen back when I was growing up. Mom, can we just go was my favorite question. Then the apologetic nod as we leave the store. I really relate to this. All throughout my childhood it happened. I remember being an embarrassed 11-year-old walking round apologizing for my mom's behavior in stores and restaurants. It sucked. It's supposed to be the other way around. My sister is a Karen. Everyone feels so sorry for her husband. Everything is his fault. He is treated like a slave. She only addresses him by yelling. She constantly insults him. We have no idea why he hasn't divorced her or flipped out and attacked her. We have all told her to cool it, and her response is that he's just so stupid. I could go on and on, but my sister really is a horrible person. It's 4 PM. Time for your dong flattening. My mom is a literal Karen, as in, it's her name, but she's like a bizarro Karen. She will constantly ask to speak with managers and supervisors and bosses, but when said managers arrive, she unloads about the employee helping her out was fantastic, hardworking and friendly, and then she'll spend 20 minutes trying to figure out if she and the manager know someone in common. 9 times out of 10 they do. As a kid it would embarrass me. As an adult it's one of my favorite things about her. She makes people feel good about the work they do, and it's really special to watch how wonderful she makes people feel. Plus she's got long gorgeous silver hair. Karen and I are crying with all the love and support. She's a wonderful lady, and to give my fair city a much needed boost, this Karen is a lifelong Philadelphian. Thank you all for making mine and my mom's day. Stay safe out there. A Karen. Not married but dated a male Karen for 8 years. He was a semi-successful business owner who was twice my age, and I was young and dumb for a lack of a better word. The gist of our relationship was him trying to take over every part of my life. For instance, he would order for me at restaurants and would dissuade me if I wanted to try something new. If I had a problem with something it would be brushed off, but if he had a problem then he had to talk to a manager. Not knowing any better, I just thought he was very particular and even started copying some of his tendencies, like speaking up when I felt I wasn't getting the right service when I was out on my own. I realized who he was when we were flying back from Vegas and our luggage was heavier than when we flew in. Obviously we'd bought extra things which made up for the weight difference, so as he demanded to know an explanation from the check-in clerk as to why if it was the same luggage would it somehow weigh more. I innocently answered that it must have been the extra shoes and clothes. He was quiet and paid up. Later he told me to not to do that again as he knew the reason why the luggage was heavier. He was just trying to get away with not paying. At that moment a bulb went off in my head. This man who'd spent $1,500 on a stripper for his friend was making an already stressful job more stressful for the clerk in order to avoid paying $60. We broke up soon after and I checked myself on the Karen tendencies he'd rubbed off on me. My husband's ex is Karen. She's a classic narcissist. When one of our feral hens started acting aggressive towards other hens, my stepson named her Karen. Also, we live on Kauai, so we differentiate between feral chickens and the ones cage raised for food and or eggs. We have 5 or so roosters, 8 or so hens, 3 of which have 4, 6, and 8 chicks. We feed the adults oats and scraps and the chicks get chick starter until they can eat other stuff. We really love them, except the roosters. They're righteous bastards. Kahan. Not the married to one, but my mom's a Karen. Literally overreacts to everything. Whenever something doesn't go her way, you guessed, gotta speak to the manager or whoever is in charge. Sometimes really embarrassing to go out in public with her because she'll just yell at the service workers for the smallest of things. Also, she has a bob cut. My mom was a Karen for a while. She literally didn't realize it until my brother and I started calling her out on it when we were early teens because we're embarrassed. She made genuine efforts to change, and a few years later was the sweetest woman you ever meet. Just saying, there's hope. Not married to a Karen, but married someone with a Karen for a sister. Sil is the freaking worst. I hate more than anything going out to dinner with her, listening to her order food and talk to the servers. Holidays are also terrible. She sends out long lists of expected gifts list. She celebrates every holiday and birthday specifically for presents even when it's not appropriate. Funny thing is, one time I was away from the dinner table when the bill came and Sil waited for me to return to pay the bill by actually handing it to me. She didn't give it to her sibling Miso or pay her half, but expressly handed it to me to pay. BTW, her husband is an idiot and they are a match made in heaven. I'm sorry to disappoint everyone, but yes, I did pay. There are many reasons as to why, but the biggest one is that it got me out of the restaurant faster. Also, it helps me control the tip. Another time we went to a family brunch where the bill was split. Karen Sil waited to see what other people tipped so she could lower the overall tip percentage for the waitress to what Sil thought was deserving. We didn't know this until afterwards when she bragged about it later, so no one even knew to stop her. And she is invited to these family meals because she has 2 children we want a relationship with, so she has that emotional blackmail card. Honey Saint Ly, she's perfect. She makes me so happy. So happy, youffound love. My mom is a Karen. Not fun. I think she was part of the reason the girl I loved left, because whenever she was around my mom behaved much better and put on a nice face. We argued frequently about my relationship with my mom. Hurts a lot. Don't think I can fully let this one go. I love my mom very much and she is generally a very nice person. I've spent a good while trying to put it to words accurately, but it's difficult. Everything is very minor and very subtle, but it's constant all the time. It's not what she does, it's how she does it sort of thing. She doesn't try to hide her behavior when in public. She just tries to put her best face forward when around others like everyone else does. I don't know if she is aware of what she does when at home because it is so minor and subtle, but I have a difficult time believing that since it is constant and other reasons. If you are concerned for me in some way, thank you, it means a lot. Only one of my friends knows the specifics of my relationship with my mom, so it's nice to receive support. To alleviate some of your worries, she doesn't control my life or actions. The pain she causes is dwarfed greatly by everything she has done for me. Without her I wouldn't have made it where I am today, and I am extremely thankful and lucky to give her in my life despite the pain. I do not think I will cut her out of my life. Less frequent contact helps, but she is not so great at terror that no contact ever is needed. I look forward to seeing her spoil my grandchildren and know she will trust me to raise them, not try to take over and do it herself. The pain of losing the girl I loved in a way I didn't think I was able to love is the greatest pain in my life. Thank you all for your kind words and sympathy. My mum did this with my friends. Everyone always said how amazing and funny she was, but behind closed doors it was heck. I couldn't convince anyone else otherwise. I taught my nephews, ages 9 and 11, about Karens last year when they stayed with us for a week after school let out. After describing trays and observing them in the wild, they asked somewhere around day 2, "Is our mom a Karen?" My reply, "You words, not mine." I knew from the beginning that there would be difficulties, but I loved her and made the leap to make her my forever partner. Yes, her attitude towards certain people and things confused me at times, but by keeping an open mind and accepting her for who she was, everything has worked out well. We've been married for 10 years, we have a darling daughter, and I've even come to love my wife's kimchi fried rice. Karen, not Korean. I didn't mean this as a joke and my dull bum literally thought the guy read it wrong. I'm very confused how I got more attention than the OP, but thanks I suppose. It is the absolute best. I love my wife. I didn't write that. Blink twice if you're being held captive. He seems to be held captive. He's under quarantine. I'm divorcing a Karen. Nothing was ever good enough. Everything had to be the most expensive thing, and even then it wasn't good enough. It was exhausting and it sucked the passion I had for life out of me. Slept on this and thought of some more telltale signs. She never said nice things about me, to me or to other people. My best friend came over for a barbecue with his wife and kids, and her mother just mocked me the whole time to my friend's wife. My friend's wife confronted them about it. Even on our wedding day, the part you say nice things sounded like a tentatively warm school report card. The nicest thing I remember her saying about me was, "I like how you make the salads. It's better than how I make it." The whole time that's the best I can think of. Divorced Karen. Haven't had a need to see a manager since. Thank you. But it is my favorite when family members or boyfriends swing by later to tell me they're sorry for Karen's behavior and that I'm doing a great job. Not married to a Karen, but my mom is a Karen whose name is actually Karen. Simply put, I haven't seen her in over a year because I couldn't take it anymore. Living with her was just an exhausting nightmare. Karen's world revolves around Karen. Nobody else's issues matter. If you tell her that you had a bad day, she'll give you 20 reasons why her day was worse. You worked 60 hours this week? Well, when she was your age, she would work 80. You're in the hospital after having major surgery? She has a pinched nerve in her arm, which is somehow worse. Your boyfriend cheated on you? She couldn't even begin to tell you about all the heartbreak she's experienced in her life. She complains left and right about anything and everything. If you're taking a week break after just getting back from college, she'll ask why you haven't gotten a job yet and claim you're lazy. If you're out to eat at a restaurant, the food is always too cold or too burnt or too salty. You can only ever go to the places she wants to go to because everything else is crap. My entire graduation dinner she complained about how cold the food was. She thrives in getting attention and constantly seeks it, but she has very few actual friends. Facebook is her lifeblood and she's always looking to start something on there. She's the queen of sharing uninformed, misguided, conservative propaganda, which always starts fights in her comments. Also, if a tragedy happens in the family, like the passing of my teenage cousin, she'll make a big scene on Facebook and expect condolences from anyone and everyone, and makes note of the people who don't give her what she wants. Don't even get me started on the blatant racism. I've heard everything from, watch out for black people on the subway, they'll try to take your purse, to it should be illegal for those Muslims to cover their faces. You should be able to see someone's face. One of my best friends is black and she once told me, he's one of the good ones. They should all be like him. Minor, but the house always has to be spotless. You have a shirt on your bedroom floor? Pick up. You kids are all slobs. We have people coming over. No we don't, and even if we do, why would they be going in my bedroom? Her house is her house, and she'll let you know. Any object she has spent money on doesn't belong to you. It belongs to her. She also spends way too much money on home decor like oriental rugs, furniture, etc. But then complains about how she has no money. TLDR. My mother is a Karen who is actually named Karen. Living with her is a nightmare. And before anyone asks, yes, my dad is divorced from her. Oh, also worth mentioning, my mom doesn't need a haircut. Karen is a hairdresser. She gives the haircuts. Her clients are her main source of gossip. She spends all her time complaining to them about her life, how lazy her kids are, how much she hates her sisters, etc. As someone who had my hair cut by her for over 25 years, it's pretty exhausting to listen to. I'm not married to a Karen. I named the human that came out of me in 2007 Karen. She's 12 and hates her name. She wants to change it. Ouch, I've never met any Karen who wasn't already an adult, come to think of it. I was married to a Karen. I'm sure the question on everyone's mind is, was she like that at home? The answer is abso-freaking-lutely. She was the kind of Karen who it had to be absolutely perfect or I'm complaining. Restaurants, stores, anything. At home was worse. I couldn't do anything right. Any ambitions or dreams I had, I wasn't good enough to do, so why try? Ugh. So glad I divorced her. Bonus. The lawyer she hired was an idiot and wrote the paperwork up wrong, so she won't get anything from my retirement. Or the lawyer was giving you a break after having to deal with her. You never know, they might have had a soul. My brother was married to a Karen. She lived to berate people and rarely went anywhere without a flask of vodka to fuel her fire. She despised kids and wasn't quiet about it. In the first year of marriage she decided her husband had to earn physical intimacy. So if she didn't like the way he painted the shed or groomed the dog or poured his cornflakes, and she never did, there was no reward. After 10 years he divorced her, moved to another state, and married a kind-hearted, generous, empathetic lady. Karen still can't understand why he dumped her perfect butt. Not married. 4 years of a toxic relationship though. I broke up with her on Monday, again. We're kinda fricked financially because of this lockdown, so we are just feeling things out for a month before we decide for sure. This cycle is on repeat. I constantly have to cut her off and speak over her because of the way she treats people. Waiters, sales assistants, gym staff, neighbors, landlords, randoms we meet in bars, etc. Note, we were both waiters at the beginning of our relationship, so she has worked in the industry, but still lacks empathy. She blames the waiter if something is out of stock, etc. My second major issue. We are both English second language teachers. She teaches kindergarten, while I teach high school. Now that we are working from home, I hear how she speaks to her students, and it's really opened up another aspect of her personality that I don't like. She will berate a student for not understanding instead of evaluating her ability to explain. Crapping on 3-year-olds and their second language doesn't fly with me. A lot of her behavior stems from a self-defense mechanism due to insecurity, but that's not an excuse. She doesn't realize how mean she is to people, including myself. I'm a people pleaser that would rather sacrifice my own comfort than someone else's. She expects me to be in butthole to people because I'm a biggish guy with tattoos. I don't exactly look soft. It's toxic as heck. Please help. PS. The freaking is so good it rivals most easily. I do research a lot of self-help and am aware of the codependency and enabling traits in my situation. For those making assumptions based on one comment, don't be a Karen. I was dating one and she acts as if we're still together. Get the net. My mom is a Karen. Legit her name too. Could be the original Karen it is all based on. Don't think she knows the meme of her own name. Essentially she is such a Karen she got her name changed to Karen. And there is a lot of food sent back at restaurants. Karen, I love my beautiful wife to the moon and back and she is amazing and strong-willed. My mother is a Karen. If something minor inconveniences her, she blows it up into a huge done. Constantly complains, belittles me and has a slight superiority complex. Same bruh. My mum is a bit of a Karen, and we're pretty much no contact now, so that should tell you everything you need to know. Whenever we'd go out to eat it's always too cold, they don't have the brand of sparkling water she likes, they put ice in her drink when she didn't want it, she always has to make some kind of modification to her order, etc. The list goes on. It got to the point where if we were out shopping and she said she needed to return something, I'd just go somewhere else because I couldn't stand watching her be rude and argue with the staff. My parents are divorced and I live with my dad now instead. Part of the reason I barely see my mum is because I'd have to meet her in public, go for a coffee or something, and I just can't deal with the way she behaves in these places, so I don't go. Engaged to one. She was raised as a princess by her military-raised father. However, she's super down to earth, but God forbid you work in the service industry and mess something up. She worked at IHOP during college, so it humbled her compared to her family. She just writes reviews now, good or bad, and emails corporate to complain. If something is wrong with my food she refuses me to sit there and eat it. Which I hate, but I have gotten her better about it, I believe. So maybe she is just a recovering Karen at this point. I'm not married to a Karen, but someone in my family decided to make a Karen family, and let me just say, it is freaking heck. I do not go to any social event if said Karen will be there. Keeps the peace in my family tbh. Nor do I go alone with Karen. She is a nightmare to everyone in her path. From car guards to cashiers, even her friends. No one can be better than her or smarter than her, and she's just freaking exhausting, man. The worst part is, her kids are becoming just like her. Not the kids too. My mom is a Karen. She literally cannot help herself but to tell other her opinion. She genuinely sees it as doing everyone a favor. It destroys her relationships with my siblings. None of my other siblings will talk to her. A few years ago we went out to eat. The restaurant served bread and butter before the meal. The butter was whipped. My mom, the former dairy farmer's daughter, insisted they bring her real butter, but the waitress went back to the kitchen and came back and told her what she had was butter. How dare she? My mom, who apparently is infallible in her ability to detect butter, started acting like a complete butthole to the waitress about it. She knows what real butter tastes like. I go to this restaurant often and my kids are there, so my first instinct was to apologize to the waitress. That was a bad idea. As soon as I did, my mom went into a rage about respecting your elders and walked out of the restaurant. To this day she still won't admit she was unkind to the waitress. You refused to enable her. Good for you. Early in our marriage I started seeing some Karen tendencies in my wife. It started because companies were legitimately jerking us around on things we needed and she was trying to be more assertive. Initially she had it compartmentalized. She'd turn it on when she needed it and turn it off once things were getting resolved. But she started losing her ability to keep it segmented, and this entitlement mindset started bleeding into other interactions. It never got too bad, but I didn't like the direction it was headed. I finally said something one night after she'd gone into a store to return something, and came back out to the car telling about how she gave the employee a talking to about how terrible the return policy was. So I just asked her, an hourly employee, with no say in the matter, upheld the company policy as she was trained to do, and you thought it was appropriate to give her a talking to for that? How do you think that made her feel? What would you have done differently if you had her job? Was it worth ruining someone, 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 ruining someone? All the while I was circling back to the store, I parked the car and said something to the effect of, I think you owe that woman an apology, and I think if you take a minute to think about it, you'll do the right thing. She argued with me for a few minutes, because she felt like I was attacking her, but to her credit, she walked herself back in that store and stood in line for 10 minutes to apologize. That was a turning point for her, I think. Since then, even when people have legitimately screwed up, she's been much more patient, understanding, and polite. I'm grateful she was open to my critique because I have other Karens in my extended family, and I don't know if I could be with someone like that. Sil is a Karen, and her name is very close to Karen. One of her most recent masterpieces, her daughter, my niece, had a big choir performance one night. My family, her family, and my Phil and Mill were going to meet for dinner, and then go to the show. My neighbor owns a very nice Italian restaurant in town, and he arranged for us to have a big table ready when we got there. We, my family of 4, are halfway to the restaurant when my wife decides to check in with her sister with a text message. Sil Karen immediately calls back and casually says she's running late. She is always late, and that it would be best if we drove to their house to pick them up. To this day I don't understand how that will help us when she's already late and we had a rather tight window to have dinner. But Karen throws a crap fit when my wife pushes back, so we turn around, pick them up and drive to the restaurant. We sit down, and she scans the menu, asks the waitress questions, tells her a couple times she's not ready to order and needs a few minutes. Meanwhile we are all openly reminding her that we are on a tight window. Doesn't matter, Karen will not be rushed. It should be noted that my neighbor's restaurant has a single page menu that doesn't change, and Karen has been to this restaurant many times. By the time she decides what she wants to order, we realize we now will not have time to eat. She gives all sorts of crap to the waitress demanding to-go boxes for our meals that are just now being served. My neighbor then came to our table to figure out what was going on, and she immediately stood up to try to explain what was going on, and threw the waitress under the bus. As we were leaving, I pull my neighbor and the waitress aside to tell them what really happened, profusely apologize, tell them it absolutely was not their fault at all. You all keep dealing with that crap. Stop enabling it. IDK. Let me ask my wife. It's been an hour. Probably he won't reach us anytime soon. RIP mate. I read that as Koreans and was thoroughly confused and amused by this thread. I'll see myself out. There is another comment that looks like someone has genuinely replied to that, haha. He's talking about the language barrier and his wife's Kim Kai fried rice. Best friend married a Karen. This woman is a whole different level of Karen. He makes a large 6-digit salary but has to work cycle shift away from home. She has the option to move from home so they can live as a family, but refuses because she has what she calls a career. She sells scents and works a clerk job at an hour office. They have 2 kids. She can't handle them. She makes him drive home from work every day so she can work out for 30 minutes in the evening. It's a 7 hours commute. He had to buy another vehicle because he couldn't take the company vehicle back and forth. So expensive and dangerous. There's too many things. Here's some. When she's working at home he has to leave the house with the kids and can't come back until she says it's okay. Insane spending habits on unnecessary stuff. Amazon, Scentsy and other MLM products. Any negative things that happens in her life is his fault and he has to fix it immediately no matter the cost. She texts and calls him every 10 minutes at work to complain about him being away from home and how the kids drive her crazy. She made him buy a luxury camper, $40k, so she can visit him at work. Came one time. She puts the kids in daycare even though it costs them more than she financially makes. Wants more kids. Wants huge renovations done but refuses to watch the kids while he does them. He has to watch them while working. Nothing gets done quick and that gives her anxiety and stress. Makes him 10 job fairs in hopes that he'll find a job making just as much money. It won't happen but he does it anyway to please the demands. It frustrates me because my time with him has literally become therapy sessions where he vents for hours. It's brutal and I hate that he tolerates it. The one that gets me the most is that she'd rather pretend to have a really good career than move with him so they can live a great family lifestyle. They'd save lots of money and they would be a much better parenting team. It's a 7-hour commute. Nah fam. She helps me try to steal the secret formula. We never get it, but it's good to try. You know what they say when you leave the room? What? Poor bastard. My dad married one. She's an absolute nightmare. Apparently at work once she went outside to shout at a gardener who was making too much noise trimming a hedge. When she came back inside she found all her colleagues laughing and saying that poor guy got Karen. She was really shocked that her name got turned into a verb but her colleagues were spot on. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.